So in this video, I'm going to talk about 3 mental and physical strengths that you have to have in order to be a successful wedding photographer. So everyone's worried about technical things, posing things, booking things, and they're not really worried about themselves. And that's what I'm going to talk about today. Hi, I'm Katelyn James, and I've been a photographer for 15 years. And over the last 10 years, we've helped tens of thousands of photographers be able to create profitable and purposeful businesses through our online courses, our online membership, and all the different resources we provide on this YouTube channel. So I'm excited that you found me. And if you are finding yourself struggling with shoots when it comes to knowing what to do with clients in front of your camera, you freeze up, I've got a great resource for you. There's so much I could teach you, but I think a first step that would be awesome is for you to download my 15 poses in 5 minutes. Free download. You can get it right now at the link below. That will allow you to have a game plan the very next time you take your camera out to photograph a client. So when I think about this, I think as a wedding photographer, there's 3 areas of impact that you can categorize almost all of the struggles and all of the really the burden of being a wedding photographer into one of these 3 categories. And that is you have to have mental clarity, right? Your mental game's got to be strong. The next is physical stamina. You literally have to physically be able to do what you have to do to get the job done. And then the last is a quick recovery. And this is especially true for people who are really, you're killing it. Like you're shooting every single weekend. I know some people that shoot 3 weddings every single weekend, 5 weeks straight. Like that's crazy. And so you have to be able to recover quickly. So we're going to dive into what these 3 areas look like and how you can transform them by simply being more intentional every day with little things. So let's talk about why this even happens in the first place. Why is it so physically and mentally grueling to be a wedding photographer? Why does it take so much out of us? Well, you have to think about, 1, the pressure of what is happening. So you don't get to go again. It's a one-time ordeal. It's a one-time day. And that's enough to make anybody anxious. But secondly, you are engaging. If you are serving your clients well, this is a key point. If you're serving them well, your brain should be in overdrive mode, trying to figure out what's happening, what are we missing, what needs to happen next. It is a constant mind game to try to figure out how to not miss something, how to be prepared for the next thing, how to make the right decisions at the right time, how to make people feel comfortable at the same time of getting stuff done and doing it effectively. There's so much to keep up with. And then physically, you're literally not sitting down for like 10 to 11 hours. Like, sure, you can sit down and maybe get a bite to eat, but if you go on any Facebook group and type in vendor meals, you're going to see a whole list of commentary about people who don't even get meals at weddings. It's a lot, and there's a lot of pressure on you. So mentally, you're carrying a lot, and physically, you are literally carrying a lot, whether it's gear, whether it's never sitting down, whether it's working in the heat. There's a lot that happens. All right, so let's talk about mental clarity. So why does mental clarity matter? Well, if you don't have mental clarity, then you really start to be reactive during a wedding day instead of proactive, because you are just taking hold of whatever's thrown at you instead of being the person that's in charge. If you are in crazy season and you don't have a good workflow and you're staying up until 2 or 3 a.m. and then getting up at 8 a.m. to get ready to hit the road for a wedding, like your mental clarity is not going to be sharp. It can't be. Like your body never recovered. I don't know if you anybody tracks their recovery at night, but I used to wear a Whoop band. It like irritated my arm, so I stopped. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. But my husband, Michael, does, and it's fascinating. Like we can tell, and he can tell when his recovery is off from sleep. If he gets lower than like 30%, it is not a good day the next day. And so you think about that from a wedding photographer perspective, like what are we doing to be able to recover mentally from what we experience or what we're about to experience as a wedding photographer? It takes a toll, which means it's going to take some intentional recovery to be able to recover from it. I never really thought about this as a wedding photographer. I was in go mode. I don't really know how I did what I did back in the day. I lived on very little sleep, and I was shooting every single weekend, required a lot of travel, and I was raising my prices. I was also educating photographers at the same time. And I look back now and I realize that I didn't take great care of myself. And if I can save a younger generation of wedding photographers from doing that, I'm going to do it. Best advice I have for wedding photographers is to do as much as you can beforehand to prepare yourself to be clear and focused and not burdened by other things. So that's going to take prep work, whether it's childcare, whether it's making sure you pack in advance and everything's ready to go, so you're not like worried about doing that in the morning, and you get a full night's sleep, whether that's taking off Friday because you're shooting all day Saturday, so you need a rest day beforehand, or scheduling a rest day after you shoot a wedding because that's part of your weekend that you didn't get. What can you do to be able to go in and have a peace in your mind? Because if you are at peace and you are not burdened by so many different things mentally and you're not exhausted mentally, you're going to do a way better job. You're going to give them such a better experience. You're going to be more of a joy to work with. And it's important to think about this because I know firsthand, I would work all week long. And then all of a sudden it's like Friday afternoon. I'm like, oh, I got to shoot a big wedding tomorrow. And I knew it was coming. It wasn't a surprise, but I was so focused on other things. I left no time to prepare to show up mentally resilient. Now, I did show up mentally resilient. I did show up with mental stamina and clarity, but that just ended up costing me more physically later. So I could push through and I could show up and like kill it for my clients, but it took a toll on me. And that is what I want to save you from. So the more you can be prepared ahead of time to provide yourself with space to have mental clarity and mental strength and mental resiliency, the more long-term you can grow this business. There's a reason why photographers don't last more than 3 to 5 years. There's a lot of them. Some of them do. I mean, I'm 16 years in, but some people don't last very long because I don't think anyone is teaching them how to take care of themselves. All right, so let's talk about physical stamina. So I'm not telling you that you got to have a six-pack in order to shoot a wedding, but I do think that you can't watch every single docuseries on Netflix all winter long and then decide in April, they're like, I'm going to shoot a 10-hour wedding day and never sit down. Like, that's not going to serve you well. And I know that's extreme, but I think a lot of us don't even realize how much we don't move. And there are so many things in your life that you can do, little things that will prepare your body physically to be able to withstand the pressures and the weight and the burden physically of a wedding day, but they're just tiny little changes. What I would recommend when it comes to physical stamina is to look at your everyday life and figure out how can I work in movement into my everyday life, into my work life, whether that's a walking desk, whether that's doing a 20-minute walk after meals with your family, whether that's doing squats, 15 squats every 45 minutes and setting a timer. Like, these little things add up and produce tremendous results for people. For me, I have noticed I've been trying to take my youngest two boys on stroller walks all the way up our street and back. One, to spend time with them before I start the workday, but also because I feel better. I'm not even working out. I'm just taking them on a walk, but I feel better and I have more mental clarity. Going back to our first point, because I moved my body first thing instead of going right back to a desk as soon as they get picked up for childcare. I think that there are ways that photographers can treat themselves better physically before wedding season even begins, so that you have a leg up, so it's not such a shock to your system. One example would be, and if we had, and this did exist, but it's more prevalent now than it was 10 years ago. But if we were shooting weddings every single weekend, I guarantee you, Michael would be getting an IV drip after every single wedding. He loves doing IVs because he gets more hydrated. He gets a lot of immunity boosters. And is that expensive? It is. It is expensive. But I will say we're investing in his health. And I have gone and I've done a few. I don't love them. But for me, it would be more like looking at the week ahead and saying, I'm just going to take off on Monday. That doesn't cost me much monetarily, but for me as a former workaholic, that's a huge sacrifice. And so I wish I had done that more, because when I was in the craziness of my career, I was pushing. And I look back and I think I actually could have gotten more done if I had taken more care of my body physically, instead of just steamrolling past needs and steamrolling past what I knew my body really was asking for. So overall, I know it can sound a little counterintuitive to be like, I just shot a 10-hour wedding day. I'm not going to work out the next day. Maybe you don't work out the next day, but you do work into your life ways to move during the week so that you're not the photographer that sits on their couch with their laptop all week long and then all of a sudden springs off the couch on Saturday and you're physically ready to shoot a 10-hour day. I'm not a health coach. I'm just someone who didn't do these things well when I was shooting 50 weddings a year. And I think looking back, man, it would have it would have been so helpful. For those of you that work out for like 3 hours every single day, you're laughing at this and you're like, of course. But there are a lot of photographers that are so deep into building their business, they're completely neglecting themselves. And so I'm not talking to the gym rats that are like very committed and like CrossFit and like they're doing all, I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to the people who don't have the rhythm built in, the people who don't make it a priority because they're working so hard. And I'm just trying to break the cycle and say, pay attention, like you can't keep working like this if you don't take care of yourself now. So lastly, having the ability to recover quickly is going to make you a better wedding photographer because you're able to kind of move through a cycle. Let me explain that. What I mean is when I would shoot a wedding on a Saturday, and this is not just workflow related, it's kind of bigger picture, but I would shoot a wedding on a Saturday and my workflow would have it done before the next wedding happened the next Saturday. That to me is a quick recovery from a workflow perspective. I also think the quick recovery from a physical perspective is important as well, which means if you shoot a wedding on Saturday, then sometime between Sunday through Friday, before you do it again, one of those days has to be a recovery day. One of those days, and it feels weird because, when you say you got to be ready to recover quickly, you got to be able to like get on your A game and back on the horse. Here we go. The way that you do that is by stepping back and taking a break. It's so hard. I am an Enneagram 3. I'm an achiever. I'm a doer. I get stuff done. It's really hard for me. And that's why I didn't do this well. If I had a Friday free, I would figure out what on my massive business to-do list that's like big project that's more of I call it a growing task and not a maintaining task. Maintaining task is like you're just maintaining the business. You're editing, you're blogging, you're emailing, you're doing all these things. But a growing task is like, I'm going to finish that bridal guide because that's going to make my client experience like catapult it. I didn't have a lot of time to do those growing tasks because I was so busy maintaining. So I'd take a Friday off for rest and I'd work on all those growing tasks because I was so excited about my business. And I look back now and that was not enabling me to do a quick recovery, right? I needed the time off. It would have changed my life if I had fully taken a day off. Quick recovery also, not just from a workload perspective or being able to physically recover quickly, I think emotionally and mentally being able to recover quickly, the better your client experience is, the happier your clients are, the more availability you have mentally to be able to move on to the next thing. If you are constantly having people complain or you're booking clients that were never a good fit and they're a pain in your side, that takes a huge toll on your mental capacity and your ability to recover quickly and be on your A game for the next wedding. Booking the right people and working with people that love you and creating a client experience that works for you and not against you, it's going to allow you to have mental clarity and physical stamina to be able to recover quickly because you're running your business efficiently and effectively. It's easier said than done. But when you think about it this way, like long term, I want to be able to do this long term. I want to be able to sustain growth as a wedding photographer. You have to have all three of these things and that everything is interconnected. So if your clients don't have a great experience, that's going to affect these three categories. If you are not taking care of yourself, you're not going to be able to show up physically to give them that client experience that they deserve. And so it's just all intertwined. You can't undo it. It's all interconnected. I am in the middle of a season of my business where I am starting to teach photographers about how photography and being a business owner and you as a person, there's no way to separate it. There's no way to have a business side of you and a personal side of you. It is just completely intertwined and it's supposed to be. But that means the health of you as a person and the health of you as a business owner go hand in hand. And so if your business is struggling or you are struggling personally with your health or your mental state or your relationships, like it's going to affect the other side of your world. I hope that this video will allow you to see that there are things that you can do for yourself that are going to create incredible results for your clients and for your future as a wedding photographer if you choose to take care of yourself now instead of dealing with the results and the consequences of not taking care of yourself later. So thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you have a great start to your year. Like and subscribe. Bye.